Roger Federer calling it a day has been one of the most depressing things this year. Fans can't believe that the day has finally arrived, and we've decided to do a little something to cheer you up. Today, we'll be taking a look at the funniest moments of the Swiss maestro from the interviews that he's given over the years. Let's start, starting with Federer's Australian Open semi-final 2010 interview. Roger's interviews with Jim Courier are easily the best thing you can watch on YouTube. Their chemistry is so wild, and it's amazing to see the two chat up after every match at the Australian Open. In one of the interviews from the 2010 semi-final of the Australian Open, Courier asked Federer if he works really hard in the offseason. It was a funny question because journalists often have claimed that Roger doesn't work hard and he's just reliant on his ludicrous talent. Federer replied in a hilarious way, telling Courier that no, he just likes to sit around the house and help with the children. The crowd completely lost it as Federer joked about how he doesn't do any training and he just turns up for tournaments and completely dominates them. In fact, he even added a plea that he wouldn't mind if Murray, his final opponent, simply decides to let him win because Federer's a great dad. As expected, the fans were in fits, a lot like Federer from the first video, but Roger also took a shot at Murray and the British media in the most adorable yet lethal way. Federer said that he's sure Murray would want to win for British tennis and become the first in 850,000 years to win a Grand Slam. Naturally funny. Moving on, another one with Courier. As we mentioned, Courier and Federer have insane chemistry. Jim caught hold of Federer on another instance and asked him if he plays tennis video games. Roger told him that he does, and he likes to play as himself, as the crowd laughed at the reply. Then he added that he also likes to switch up and plays Nadal to see how the muscle game feels. Then Courier asked what he likes his main weapon to be, and Federer's reply was even funnier. The maestro told him that he wasn't happy being the all-rounder and being good at everything, and that he'd rather have a powerful serve or a big forehand. Of course, he was kidding, because he already did have those things and managed to improve on them, but it just goes to show that he's naturally witty as well. On another occasion, Courier told Federer that after his emphatic win, which he wrapped up in just over an hour, he's got to stick around for an hour-long interview because the channel doesn't know what to show next. It was hilarious. On to the Federer-Wawrinka moment from 2017. This isn't Federer's interview, but it still ranks among the funniest on-court moments ever, so we had to include it. After Roger had destroyed his Swiss counterpart in Indian Wells in 2017, he decided not to be his humble self. Nah, we're kidding. He was still humble, but he somehow just couldn't stop his laughter, and he got a proper response from Stan, and the entire crowd cheered. So basically, in the interview after the Indian Wells final of 2017, Wawrinka was in tears, having come so close to a miraculous comeback after his struggles with injuries. Federer too was making a return from his injuries and enjoyed a spectacular return, but that wasn't the case with Stan. In the ceremony presentation, Wawrinka, teary-eyed, tried to muster up his courage to congratulate his fellow countryman and legend Federer for his victory. However, as he looked toward Federer, he was laughing, so Stan went on to say, "I would like to congratulate Roger. He's laughing. He's an asshole." And the entire crowd went off again, including Federer, and Stan laughed too. So mission accomplished, huh? Also, the adorable yet funny GOAT moment. This is easily one of the greatest interview moments of all time. Zizou has since become a sensation, but it definitely deserves a mention on this list, as it's one of our favorite Federer moments of all time. In an interview during the build-up to the US Open, the press included some fan questions from kids, and a kid named Zizou absolutely nailed his opportunity. He set up Roger like Roger sets his opponents up in the rally, and then delivered the devastating smash that Federer would miss on rare occasions. He asked Federer how Switzerland is really cold, and an unsuspecting Roger confirmed it. Just try and observe the beauty of it. By this time, he's managed to trap Federer and has him exactly where he wants him. Then he proceeds to ask how, due to the cold weather, there isn't a lot of livestock. By this time, Federer has no idea what's happening, and that's when Zizou delivers the bomb as he completes his sentence. So with the absence of livestock, why do they call you the GOAT? Nah, it was beautifully done, and Federer just went red and laughed it off in the most modest way possible. But Zizou wasn't done just yet. Once again, it feels that Zizou's a strong believer in "you miss all the shots you don't take." The little brilliant kid asked Federer how he's the most consistent player of all time. So can he play for 8 or 9 more years so that he can play Roger once he turns pro? The entire media room collapsed with laughter, and Federer actually ended up promising him a match. And then, 5 years later, like the gentleman that he is, Federer actually fulfilled the promise and played with an unsuspecting Zizou. That's the thing about him. He always gets back at you. Up next, Federer's CNN World Sport interview. Roger Federer was interviewed by CNN reporter Pedro Pinto Pinto in 2009, and he wouldn't have imagined that people would be talking about that interview 13 years later, but here we are. It's one of the most hilarious moments of Federer on camera, and we promise you can't get through that video without tears in your eyes from laughing out loud. Pedro Pinto was also translating the questions and the answers from Federer in the interview, and for some reason whenever he started speaking Spanish, the Swiss maestro would give into a fit of giggles that he just couldn't control. Pinto tried to lighten the mood and asked if the cameras were rolling, and then immediately said, "Yeah, it's an obvious question, but," before Federer cut him off to say, "Pedro Pinto style." We bet you knew about the skill Roger possesses on the court, but he's also a hilarious person, so this was hardly a surprise. When Pinto was done with the English part of the interview, he asked Federer to just sit as he asked some questions in Spanish. Roger tries his best to just sit, but he can't do it as he keeps on breaking into a fit of giggles, and it's super fun to watch. In fact, after a couple of times, Pedro asks Federer to just close his eyes, if that's what's making him laugh, and once Roger does that, he still can't stop laughing. They even take a break for a minute, and Federer's pictured laughing from across the room as Pinto goes on in Spanish. And last, but the funniest interview moment, Nadal interview the match for Africa. This is probably the funniest interview in tennis history, not to mention also the most iconic. You might ask us why, and the answer is very simple and straightforward. We'd argue that after this interview, Nadal was born. The two best players on the planet were trying to promote a charity match for a great cause, and as they sat through the rehearsal for it, the moment became bigger than anything else. They were given a few lines to do, and they just couldn't do it, to put it lightly. Federer asked Nadal, "So Rafa, do you know what you're gonna give me for Christmas yet?" Before he could finish the line, you can see a smirk emerge on Roger's face. Well, unfortunately for the media team, it wasn't going to be a simple rehearsal, and they were there for a long time, because as soon as Rafa spoke, Federer experienced one of those fits of laughter. The scene was cut immediately, as the two fierce rivals on the court couldn't get enough of one another, and kept giggling like schoolgirls. Oh, and they do like 5 takes where Federer just goes, "So Rafa," before he's cut by his own laugh. We bet you can't keep a straight face. These two certainly couldn't. There are many takes of this one simple exchange, and it's incredible to see Federer trying his level best just to get through it. It got so bad at one point that Roger would laugh just when Rafa would look over, and it would start a chain reaction because let's be honest, Federer's laugh is so contagious. Even we couldn't hold it in. Poor Rafa. That's a wrap for this video. Which of these Roger Federer moments is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.